Hello, here we are, my friends. It's Chat with Matt. It is the 5th of February 2020. A bit of Windows, not very aesthetically pleasing. It's all about the frame, if not about the lighting. Both together makes for a good video. It's details. Anyway, my friends, I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to shoot the breeze and shed some insight and to facilitate some energetic transformation. All of that and more. So please reach out. We're on the same time every week, if you are wondering. It's 9 a.m. Wednesday morning here in New Zealand. That is 2 p.m. If you're watching this in the replay, right? It's 2 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday afternoon, 8 p.m. I believe in the UK, Tuesday evening. And you'll have to figure it out if you live somewhere else. Most people can figure it out. Otherwise, it's right now, and just look on how long ago this was and you will know. And then you can turn up next week or the week after or the week after or the week after. Hey, Sister Diane, how are you? Here we are, Chat with Matt. Ask me a question. I do have something written in, which I'm just trying to, so I've got my computer right here next to me, and I'm trying to, in my own befuddled way, get to where Sister Kate asked the question on the notification, which I always put a notification up. So if you know you can't get here but you still want to ask me something and then watch it in replay, there's always a notification that goes on about 12 hours before this. Not always exactly 12 hours, but something like that. My life's a little bit less organised than exact. But here we go. So Kate wrote in, hey there, I'm going to an event on Saturday night, awesome, in Sydney, which is a way away because I know Kate lives in Byron or thereabouts, which will be a great night, a fundraiser for a friend and her family. Just want some help with intentions and keeping my energy up if possible. Everything's possible, Kate. And helping you is possible, and you keeping your energy up is definitely possible. Oh, it'll be a hoot because it's fancy dress, 1980s, and we're all there for a good cause. It's all very organised though, and there's games and things. Read big high energy type opposite to Kate happenings. I'm going with two close friends who don't know this crowd, and I mean having a few too many drinks would have been what I would have done in the past, but would rather not overindulge, and that won't really be dealing with it. Correct. There will be some people who I guess the energy isn't great with. Read, this is Matt's read, you have a past history with, right? The energy isn't great with because you've had a past. Any mindset help would be good. New paragraph, I want to go and I want to be there in shining strength. Just want that energy to be dominant, whereas before some of these people have kind of, well, I guess I've let them put me down somehow. Awesome. So great levels of awareness there to start with, Kate, that you're aware that this opportunity to have a great time at this event comes as a double-edged sword, and there is history with some of the people there, and that history has, you remember that history as you not feeling good enough about yourself, which you equate to them putting you down, right? Again, your perspective, whether they meant to put you down or not is conjecture, and you might be sure that they were or maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, everything is your experience. Everything that matters is your experience anyway. Everyone else can have their own experience, and people can try and put you down and not, and people can try and be helpful and you feel that they're putting you down. It's not as cut and dry as we like to think this world is, because everything is coming through our own filters and everything is our own perspective of situations and not exactly aligned with their perspective of the situation, of course. So the intention, hey brother Lou, the intention to go and to have fun is awesome, and the intention to keep your energy shining bright and stay confident in yourself is also awesome. And now how to achieve that, right? How to achieve that and not fall into, old school techniques of, having a few drinks to get a little bit of, Dutch courage, I don't care, and perhaps, dull yourself to the experience, which is, rampant in our society. A lot of people don't even believe they can have a good time being sober, unfortunately, which is, a little bit sad. But anyway, not here to jump on the bandwagon of bashing alcohol right now. It's not all bad, but generally our society does not have an empowered relationship with it. Hey, Sister Narinda, how are you? I am open for questions. I'm talking about a question Kate wrote in beforehand about going to events where you are concerned that people there you have a history with, where the past history has not been super empowering or affirming for yourself, right? And so you feel a little bit bashed down by them, I think was the words that Kate used. So, first and foremost, it is to get very, very clear on your intent, right? Why? Why do you want to be a shining example of the light? Why do you want to stay strong in yourself? Is it out of self-love, right? And out of compassion and out of wanting to do the best for the people? This is a fundraiser, right? Wanting to do the best for those people, to be the light and to be happy and to be joyful and to be expansive in your own light? Or are you wanting to show up and shine your light out to protect yourself and to be right in the eyes of these other people who have before bashed you down? Or do you want to win? So it's just a matter of recognizing what is influencing your choices on how you show up, right? Because if you are just trying to play the game and to not let them win by you being strong, I'm not going to let them push me down this time, right? If you're going with that mindset, you're basically opening yourself up to that experience, right? If you're fighting against something, you're basically recognizing that it's a threat. If you think it's a threat, it is a threat. And if you're already pre-planning to fight against a perceived threat, you are basically inviting that threat in, as opposed to choosing to know that there's history, choosing not to be blind to that, but choosing to really align with your own energy and shine out bright, because you are choosing to evolve, because you are choosing to show everyone there a new way of being. And it's not about proving yourself to feel good and satisfied in an egoic way, but it's about holding the light because you know it's the way forward for yourself and for others. You know it's in the best interest of all concerned if you show up in a confidence, in a deep-seated, authentic confidence for yourself. So I'm thirsty already. I don't know why I don't drink enough before these things start. I actually, to be completely honest, I just got a big startle when my alarm went off while I was still meditating. That's the truth. And it was only 5 minutes ago or thereabout. No, it was longer than 5 minutes ago because I've been on this for over 5 minutes, but it was 5 minutes before this thing started. Anywho, I don't know why I had to tell you that. So the mindset is, to be compassionate with yourself and to be confident in yourself. Confident in yourself means to be an allowance of doubt. You don't need to bash the doubts down. You don't need to knock the doubts on the head. You just recognize what doubts are. Doubts are fragments of energy from the past coming up to clear. As you go into this event in a more empowered version of yourself with strong intent to show up aligned with your light and to shine out bright, then it's going to be pretty much... what is it when something's surely going to happen? It's surely going to happen that you're going to experience your own doubts come up, right? Because just the very act of you showing up in an empowered way is going to displace doubts out of your field, and so you will feel them. Being confident is not being doubt-free. Being confident is being able to act despite the fact that you're feeling doubts. It's being able to act in a way that is not so influenced by the doubts that you are feeling. Trust. This is a primary foundation to transformation, is trusting that what you are feeling is not the direction you're going in, but rather what you are leaving behind, right? What you are feeling is what you are releasing, not what you are becoming. And I know as well as anyone else how hard it is to do that, but it really is the foundation to transforming in an effective and efficient and ultimately in a comfortable way. When we can feel doubts, when we can feel the fragrance of pain, when we can feel our own insecurities arise and trust that it's not the truth of who we are, but it is actually what we are releasing from our past, then we are in a much more empowered place to move forward more effectively. Right? Because as long as we're trying to shadow dance and avoid feeling doubtful, we're going to keep those energies hidden inside of ourselves. If we're not willing to feel it, then we can't release it. And that's an unfortunate truth that we all have to come to terms with. If we're carrying something heavy, then we have to be willing to feel it in order to let it go. So when we choose to be strong and confident in ourselves, when we choose to know that we are safe and we are capable of showing up and being ourselves in front of others who we have a history with, we are necessarily going to feel the leftovers from those past experiences with these people. It's going to arise. These doubts are going to arise. These unpleasant feelings of being persecuted or not accepted or whatever are going to arise. And our job is to remember that that arising is not wrong and it's not us failing, and we don't need to go into a panic about that. All we need to do is breathe and relax, acknowledge the situation and trust that we're moving forward in an empowered way, in an effective way. And we move on, right? We just keep making choices that are in alignment with the intention that we've set. We keep making choices that are in alignment with the intentions that we set, rather than start reacting to the sensations that we're feeling. Because if we start reacting to the sensations we're feeling, we actually lock them in place. We give them reason for being. We're actually validating the doubt when we start reacting to the doubts. When we start trying to mitigate the doubts, when we start trying to protect ourselves from the doubts, we're basically verifying that they're valid. And unfortunately, once we do that, then they're more locked in place. So the more that we can feel the doubts and then just act as if we're not feeling the doubts, the better off we're going to be, because those doubts will lose their power very, very quickly. They're like a protest on the street waving their banners. If no media shows up, they get no attention, they last 1-2 hours and they all go home with sore throats, right? And a sore arm from waving the banner, yelling and shouting in the street to get attention for their beliefs, right? What they believe is wrong at the moment. But if they don't get any attention, then they quickly lose their power and all go home. They disband. It's the same with the doubts within us. They're coming up with good intent from their perspective, from the perspective of the doubt, because the doubt is just coming up as a reflection of energy, of pain that you've experienced in the past, right? So it's coming up to try and protect you from a past that has passed. Hey, Sister Emily Rose. So it's not that the doubts are bad. They're coming up to try and stop you doing something that they think, in their deluded sense of reality, is going to hurt you, right? Because they would much rather you stay away from this event, because that would then eliminate any possibility of having a hard, painful, disappointing, uncomfortable experience with these people from your past. So the doubts are coming up to try and get you to do that. But you know that that's not an empowered way to live. You know that's not going to be a recipe for your greatest happiness, right? Because if you allow that precedent to keep going, you're just going to keep bringing your walls in around you of what you can do comfortably, right? Because anything that you've done in the past that's led to discomfort, you don't want to do again, right? So very, very quickly you become very, very limited, and you will live a very substandard life trying to avoid anything that might yield pain. So we can't do that. We know we can't do that. So the more that we can show up in the face of what is potentially going to be uncomfortable, and choose to stay aligned with the direction we're going in confidence, then the better off we're going to be. The more empowered we're going to be, the faster we're going to grow and expand into shining our light out. And believe it or not, as we do so, those fears and those doubts diminish quite quickly, because we start building a body of evidence that we can step past our fears and our doubts, and we don't have bad outcomes from doing so. In fact, what we will start finding is we start having good outcomes, expansive outcomes, exciting outcomes, and that helps to instigate our ability to step through this process more effectively, because really doing life is doing this process, right? We're not choosing this pathway because we're looking to get to the outcome. We're choosing this pathway so that we get better at this pathway. The outcome is doing the pathway well, right? The outcome is being able to walk through this process easily. That's the outcome, not what's going to happen at the end, because who knows? What end? Is there an end? Is there really a destination? Anyway, my friends, I think I've answered Sister Kate's question, hopefully in a way that she gets value from anyway, and I'm pretty sure other people will get value as well. So who else? What would anyone like to know or ask? Be willing to question anything that's going on in the world or in your own life. It doesn't have to be personal, it can be out there, or it can be very personal. Either or. I've got 15 minutes. Hit me up. I'm going to be quiet. Do you think I can? Potentially not. Hopefully someone's typing. I can't tell though. I'm just trusting. Oh, you're testing me. I don't know what I'm going to speak about, but I feel I need to speak. It's very hard to live a void. Very hard to do the presenter without actually presenting anything. I've got all sorts of things I could be telling you about what's going on in my life. My back's better today. That's good, isn't it? It was a bit better yesterday and it's much better today. I don't know what was wrong with it, and I don't know how it got better, but it is. I think it was just energy. But it was very, 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 very quite uncomfortable for several days. After the weekend's event, the 2/2/2020 portal and the call we delivered on relationship with self. No one is writing, are they? You're not writing. You would have left me sitting there quiet forever. Cheeky. Come on, guys. Write me something. Ask me a question. I want to bounce off someone. I don't want to just keep having to talk to myself about myself. That's boring for me. Here we go. Kundalini, Brother Lou. Yeah, Kundalini is an interesting subject. A lot of people get very, very locked in Kundalini. A lot of people talk to me about my own Kundalini experience, which as far as I was concerned was a non-event. Really, it was. I don't make a big deal out of it. I know some people have quite intense I've heard that some people have, I don't know, but I've heard, and it's been written in the scriptures age old, and then people, clients and whatnot talk about their Kundalini experience. I'm really unsure because I haven't really had a Kundalini experience, and yet everyone assumes that my Kundalini has risen because of the states that I can attain. So, but I think it's just one of those things that you don't need to worry about. And if you do have an experience that you put down to Kundalini, then you'll be able to get you'll know what to do innately. And two, if you need verification, you will find someone who will be able to help you. But it's not something you need to pre-plan. It's not something you need to worry about. It's not something you need to orchestrate. I believe Kundalini energy is best left alone until it, if you're driving now, it's a bad time for your Kundalini to rise, Brother Lou. I know. I think you're making helping me understand why it was a one-word question, and I get it. If you're driving, you had time to text Kundalini, and you're just listening. So that's great. Thank you. Because it is it's a good topic. It's a good topic in that I don't really care about it, which which is valid in itself because a lot of people do. Hey, Sister Rita, a lot of people do worry a lot about Kundalini and are trying to measure whether they're having a Kundalini experience and think that they should have a Kundalini experience because it would be a signpost that they're evolving or ascending. And I'd like to, help dissolve that a little because in my experience anyway, it hasn't been a very obvious signpost at all. So I'll get to that in a sec, Rich. I'll keep talking on Kundalini. So the point is, there's a lot of stuff written in scriptures, and there's a lot of stuff said by people who hold a level of status. They hold a level of status in your eyes, at least, and we all describe from our own experience. So I can be sitting here poo-pooing Kundalini because I didn't have much of an experience of it, and yet you have a quite intense experience of it. That doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make me wrong. The point is not to get too caught up in taking anyone else's experience, mine or anyone else's experience, as how it should be, because we are very, very diverse energetic beings. Ultimately, we're all the same and we're all one, but the way and the experiences and the history that we have is all very diverse, and we all have different experiences and different sensations and different ways of describing it and different ways of mentalizing our history and our past and the experiences that we're having. What is very, very intense for someone can be very, very bland for someone else. Same experience. It's just based on our predetermined via our histories trigger points, right? What we feel is intense is based on whether we are sensitive to it. We're sensitive to it based on how much it's been irritated in the past, right? Some of us get allergies based on an over exposure to certain chemicals for our system that has now left us with a sensitivity that creates discordance whenever it is triggered. That's happening on all levels, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and physically. So it's important, which is a word I don't like using, but it's beneficial for you to understand that what experience you are having is based on your sensitivities, based on your history, and none of that is wrong and none of it is right. But the point is not to get lost in trying to compare yourself. This is where it all comes to custard, is where we start trying to compare ourselves with other people's experiences because we're looking to validate our experience, right? With automatically, people like you and me who are listening to this, we tend to have a negative bias towards ourselves. And when we have an experience, the first thing we think of is, oh shit, it's going wrong. Or something similar, or I'm not sure this is right? We're not generally confident in any experience that we're having that is out of normal for us and normal for how we've been educated. So as soon as we start having an experience that's uncomfortable for our mind because we can't easily categorize it, then we tend to think the worst rather than the best. And we start to then go looking for what we need to do to either verify that what we're having is okay, or what we need to do to rectify or help the situation. As opposed to the process of acceptance where we go, wow, this is interesting. This wasn't expected. And we relax into trusting that our higher self has everything under control, right? And so the point is, and I believe, Sister Adelina, you're talking, when you said you had a bad one, you're talking about a Kundalini experience, right? Because it is basically just our life force or our light awakening through us. And the experience of feeling like a serpent going up your spine and all of that is a clearing experience, right? And so, unfortunately, what happens for people who awaken their Kundalini early is that clearing experience is more intense than someone who allows their Kundalini to awaken when it's very natural for it to awaken, and then it tends to be much more comfortable. And that's a very broad conclusion that I've made. It's not really a conclusion, but a bit of advice. The point is not to try and awaken your Kundalini. That's at the end of the day, trying to awaken your Kundalini, trying to expedite your process of evolution or ascension is not generally very smart. What you need to do is, in my opinion, what's really beneficial for us is to just keep developing our ability to relax into acceptance of what is, and trust that in doing so, you will speed up your process of evolution far faster than focusing your attention on trying to achieve the signposts that have been left in the scriptures or by the teachers, right? The more that you can relax into acceptance of yourself and your own process, the looser your energetic field will get. In other words, you will come out of stress and the contraction of trying to compare yourself all the time to others, and then things can shift more effectively and more quickly, and you will evolve rather dynamically, dynamic's an interesting word, but rather effectively into a much more expansive version of yourself. And anything that needs to shift energetically will do so much more naturally if you let your higher self take the lead rather than your mental or egoic self trying to control and expedite your process based on a thinking process of what should happen based on education and observance of others, listening to others, and then trying to think, oh wow, they've had this experience, oh, I haven't done, trying to orchestrate that for yourself. Hey Mary, hey Janelle, I'm glad it's working for you, Janelle. So I'm just going to quickly flick back to what Rich wrote in, because I didn't read it. Hi Matt, appreciate you speaking to not fighting against or forcing outcomes, but coming from a place of empower. The see more thing is always hard for me to get to work. There we go. Maybe it's just more of a tap than a push. I'm not very good with phones, obviously. Forcing outcomes, but from a place of empowerment. All acts are somewhat political, but intention behind them is important. How do you notice when you're off track or in track? Yeah, well, that all comes down to the idea of what do you classify as on track or off track, right? Because for me, what it comes down to is what's beneficial. And sometimes it's beneficial to go what you might call off track, because that's how we learn. So the point is to hold an intention to be aware and to maintain practices that help you with that awareness. Again, it's not about being right or wrong, because that sort of off-track or on-track idea is that there's a right path and a wrong path, and I don't believe that there is a right path and a wrong path. I believe all paths is leading to evolution, and that evolution will happen more effectively if you can stay aware. And for me, staying aware means giving myself time and space in meditation, for me particularly. But it can be, you can do it in other ways, right? Going for walks or spending time with your dog or whatever it might be, or with your kids or whatever. Something that lets you get out of the contraction of your mind and trying to control everything and trying to measure things and compare things, and this whole question of whether I'm on track or off track. When you allow yourself to have space out of that, then I tend to see things anyway, more, what is it when we're not aligned, when we're not stuck in something, more expansively. I'll use that word. It wasn't the word I was looking for. Objectively, I think was the word I was looking for. I tend to see things more objectively, whether it's benefiting me or not, and how it's benefiting me, more to the point, right? So I can see that I'm going down a certain path and I go, wow, I'm really getting lost in an old trigger here. And then I allow that to be okay, because I see that it's instigating an intense experience that I am becoming very aware of, which is now allowing me to see that an old trigger point still has a lot of power over me. I don't make that wrong, but I now can make conscious choice as to whether I allow that old trigger point to keep controlling me, or whether I choose to step out of that and go, wow, that old trigger point still has a lot of pull because of the emotional pain I'm carrying around that, but because it still has me feeling that I'm not good enough, or I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not acceptable in some way. And from there I can make more conscious choice as to whether I indulge in allowing that trigger point to influence my behavior moving forward, influence my decisions, and influence my choices moving forward, and even influence my perspective and my state of mind moving forward. Awareness is the key, right? Until we have awareness. Yeah, thank you. My calendar talks to me now, so it's telling me that I've got something to do soon, which is rather important for me. building content. But so to answer your question, Rich, how do you notice? It's about building. Practices and maintaining intention to be aware, and then holding an intention that I'm going to act in empowered ways based on that awareness. And it's an evolution, of course. None of us do this perfectly, and it's not important whether we can get it perfect or not. It's small incremental shifts in directions that are beneficial, right? A little bit more awareness, a little bit more confidence to act based on that awareness. Small shifts, percentage shifts in that have rather large ripples out through our life in positive ways. So hopefully that helps. Hey, Sister Sandhya. Awesome. Great. Glad that helps, Rich. We've done it, right? That's pretty much half an hour chat with Matt. Thank you very much, my friends, for popping along and stimulating the conversation and instigating some words of wisdom, hopefully, or some points of conjecture, or some questions for yourself to think about and work with. I am very happy for people to say, that's a load of shit, Matt. I don't think that's the truth, right? I'm not here to speak the truth. I don't claim that anything I say is the truth. I'm here to instigate transformation. And so I am very happy to say things that are going to trigger you into thinking, I don't agree with what Matt said. It doesn't mean that you're wrong, right? It means it's going to help you get very firm in why you believe what you believe. And that's what's most important, right? That you're not just believing things based on because you've always believed it, that you actually take some time to inquire why it's important for you to believe that way. And if I say something that goes counter to what you truly believe, then I'm not wrong and neither are you, right? But if both of us get more clear in why we're believing what we're believing, then that's what's important, because it's our confidence to really shine our particular light out that's beneficial, and at the same time maintaining a allowance that everyone doesn't need to be the same as me for me to be right, that I'm quite happy being right as myself, right as myself, without any need to conform with others or have them conform with me. That idea of there's only one truth, right, and we all have to either believe this or someone's wrong, is dying, and we have to be willing to let that go. And it's not easy for our mind to have allowance for the fact that I believe something different to someone else who I respect. They have a different belief. I still respect them. They respect me. We have different beliefs on this particular subject, and neither of us are wrong. That's mature. That's what we're looking for. That's when that energy starts spreading out through our society, we will start to move into the golden age in reality. But as long as we're still fighting based on divisions, based on if I believe this and you don't, then you're wrong and I'm right, or maybe I'm wrong and I need to change, whatever, that level of doubt and that level of ideology that there's one truth, everything else is delusion or wrong, is bound to have us fighting forever. So we're not going to fight forever. So it is on the way out. It's just a matter of us leading the way, really, and allowing ourselves to understand that process. Awesome, my friends. Much, much love to you all. Namaste. I will speak to you again soon. Some of you sooner than others, depending on what level of program you're in with me. But I will be back here at the same time, same place next week. Much love. Bye for now.